Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Today we decided to have a little fun with a couple of our favorite cryptids and settle that question that's been at the back of our minds for a long time. Who would win in a fight between Dogman and Mothman? What we're going to do here is we're going to first kind of compare the abilities of Dogman and Mothman and the attributes of them. And then we're going to talk through a hypothetical fight and how it might go. Let's get ready to get weird! Alright, so Dogman versus Mothman. Now, as far as we know, these two cryptids have never met before. Although, there appears to be increasing evidence that there might be a hybrid of Dogman and Mothman, particularly in the Elk Grove area, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we start with the physical abilities and attributes? Maybe starting with Dogman. He's reported usually in the 7 to 10 foot range in terms of height. As you mentioned, he is really muscular looking, especially in the upper body. Covered with hair. It could be black, gray, brown, depends on, where you see him basically. And has the long dog-like snout. So, that brings us to our other challenger, which is Mothman. Just to talk about him physically, he's in the 6 to 8 foot range. People often describe him as being covered with like a soft hair or fur like you would see on a moth, basically. The body's described as being black, and the wings are described as being white.
So, to start off, Dogman is known to be really fast. I mean, he's gone at a maximum of like 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, and we're not even 100% sure that's his maximum. I mean, that's just how fast he had to run to keep up with a car, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I know there have been multiple accounts of him running really, really fast, but there was one clear one where someone was trying to get away in a car, and Dogman was chasing him, and it was like 60 miles an hour.
And then along with that, he is known to seem like he has a lot of strength. I mean, to be nearly 8 feet tall and then have a bunch of muscles that you could see, he has to be very strong for that.
I know you had to say that because you were the one who questioned his strength earlier.
Yeah, it was humble.
Yeah. So he is very strong. We know that he can leave deep gouges in cars when he claws into them, and he's, we suspect he's ripped down some trees in the Bray Road area, and people have talked about him throwing big logs out of the way and everything else. So he's definitely pretty strong.
Yeah, and sometimes you could tell his strength just by hearing the sounds of the snaps sometimes of the branches. Some people will describe it being really loud.
Yeah,
Fair point. I mean, you could easily tell the weight of some people can tell the weight based off how loud a branch may break.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
And in one of those eyewitness accounts, they had him throwing a huge hunting dog, 30 or 40 feet into the woods, just hurling him away.
Wow.
That's, I don't know how big the dog was, but I'm guessing a good hunting dog will be at least, 50 to 75 pounds, I would think.
Wow.
He's also known to jump. He's been known to jump across the road. That's the main example that I could think of.
Yeah, several, a multi-lane highway I've heard of him jumping across.
Wow.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, well, I guess we shouldn't be surprised because, a wolf can jump a really good distance. And if this is a wolf that walks on 2 legs, then you'd think his hind legs would be even stronger than those of a normal wolf. So,
Yeah.
From what I've heard, their legs are very strong.
Mm-hmm. Well, another of his attributes that are pretty well known is stealth. Basically, if Dogman doesn't want you to see him, you're not going to see him. I think that's true of a lot of animals. And, Dogman, the fact that, nobody has seen him, assuming he does exist, which is the assumption we're making here. So few people have seen him, he must be, the second best being in the world at hide and seek, right behind Bigfoot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Lastly, for Dogman, when it comes to physical abilities, he has some most likely razor-sharp teeth. I mean, from every other wolf-like being, you could get torn to shreds, and you could just imagine the kind of jaw power on that animal.
Yeah.
It would have to be bad.
Yeah.
They also have very powerful claws as well. We don't know for sure if this is from Dogman, but we've seen what looks like claw marks
That
on a
went
tree.
deep into that tree. And, there are people who've had gouges that went all the way through the metal on their car door that they said was from Dogman, his claws. So, Mothman. He's got some physical attributes that would help him in this fight, such as...
Flying.
Right.
I think they could fly like at least 100 miles per hour. I think that's what I've heard.
Strangely enough, they gauged this the exact same way they gauged Dogman. Someone was trying to get away from him, but this guy apparently had a faster car and got it up to 100 miles an hour, and the Mothman was flying right beside him.
Yeah, it must have been more like a race.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they'd have to be like really powerful wings.
Mhm.
They're often described as like leathery, right?
Mm-hmm. And apparently he can fly at pretty great heights, too. I mean, if all the Mothman sightings outside of Point Pleasant are to be believed, I mean, he flew pretty high in West Virginia, but there were sightings in Mount Tremblow where he was way up at the top of the mountain, and there were sightings in Chicago where they said he was taller than the skyscrapers. He was way up there above the Sears Tower circling around, so...
I mean, to do all that requires a lot of strength.
Yeah.
Which is our next idea. I mean, he's got to be really muscular for all that.
Yeah. He's shown his muscle on rare occasions. I know he was like... I forgot what he was doing to one of the cars in Point Pleasant, if he was shaking it or trying to break into it or what, but he was clearly having a strong effect on that car, more so than a human being would. So the other thing we should mention is his claws or talons. He's got some bird-like claws apparently that are very sharp, and kind of like Dogman, he's left his impression on the hood of a car by digging into the metal with his claws. And when we compare these two, clearly Mothman's a little faster, and he has the ability to fly. Strength, I'm kind of leaning toward Dogman on that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to fly kind of outranks the ability to jump. Claws, even if we say their claws are dead even, we've still got those monstrous teeth on Dogman, so I think...
Yeah, if he could catch one of those wings, Mothman would be done for.
Yeah.
Right. So let's get into the supernatural abilities now. And both of these cryptids apparently have some. So if we were to start with Dogman, I know that there's one favorite thing you always love to talk about with Dogman.
Yeah, it's a mist.
Right.
People often see like a mist before they see Dogman. I haven't really heard it like after they see Dogman. I'm not sure if it like disappears or what.
Yeah, it's almost like his walk-up music, You see that mist and Dogman's coming. But it could be an advantage in a fight because it could allow him to hide himself from his opponent. The other thing that the mist is often associated with is traveling through a portal. A lot of people believe that a wall of mist is a portal, and they believe that could be how Dogman is getting from one place to another. And that could be really handy in a fight if, Dogman wants to pop up behind Mothman, or if Mothman is flying at him and he needs to get out of the way in a hurry.
Yeah, it sounds like a cheat to me.
Yeah, it's the Dogman cheat code, the mist and portal.
Yeah. I mean, Dogman has also been... There have been theories to say that Dogman can be a skinwalker of some kind, which can lead to the idea of, shape-changing, forming into anything else.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to go full skinwalker with the Dogman, then, he could change himself into an eagle to match the flight ability of Mothman. He could change into a cheetah to run almost as fast as Mothman can fly. That would make things really challenging. Now, if you were to go with the reduced shape-changing ability of, say, a werewolf or a Rougarou, then basically he's just changing from human into Dogman, and I don't think changing into a human is going to help him much.
Nah, maybe a little bit more intelligence? I don't know.
Then next we have the paralyzing aura of fear.
Sometimes when people get close to Dogman, they just get paralyzed with fear. And there was, actually I was watching a podcast on it the other day, and this woman described it as being like running through sand or running through deep water. It's like you're trying to get away, you have to get away, but your legs just won't move. and it's like everything is slow for you, and no matter, and you know you desperately need to move fast to get away from this thing, but you can't do it because this wave of fear is just holding you in place.
Dogman can play some advanced mind games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one thing I hear very often. Like, people feel like time is slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they want to get away, like you said.
Right.
And that idea can almost be followed to the theory that fear is caused by a howl.
I know the term they use with Bigfoot is infrasound. The sound frequency has an effect on the human body that actually incapacitates it. And I would imagine that's similar with Dogman. So Mothman has some interesting supernatural abilities as well. The first one, and you know, this one may trump everything, but he's seen as a harbinger of doom. You know, when you see Mothman, it means things are about to go badly for you.
Yeah, he may or may not have the ability to bring any chaos to the table.
Mm-hmm.
You could get a bus to run with the dog, man, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, get a bridge to collapse on him, or a volcano to erupt next to him.
That's another possible cheat code then.
Yeah. See, this is an even match. Both cryptids have a cheat code.
Yeah.
This is like the ultimate OP cheat code, though. This is like the you know, in literary terms, they call it Deus Ex Machina, where, you know, when the hero needs to be saved at the end, the hand of God comes down and says, okay, this guy wins. So that's if Mothman is actually able to create doom, not just foretell it, then he'd be pretty tough to beat.
Yeah.
But he has some other attributes too.
Just like Dogman, there's something paralyzing about him. There's a just completely paralyzing screech that can basically do the same effect. I mean, they can just be left in their tracks, not being able to move at all, and almost as if they're the prey.
And apparently the screech is so high-pitched that it can actually cause people pain, like in their ears. It's kind of like a next-level version of the Dogman howl.
I've never actually heard a video or audio or anything about the screech, really. Or, I mean, I've heard about it, but I haven't heard the actual screech.
Yeah, I don't think there are any recordings of it or anything, but I've heard witnesses talk about it. So the last thing that Mothman has, we've talked a little bit about his big red eyes. What we didn't talk about is that some claim these eyes have hypnotic powers. Like when he looks at you, you're frozen, or when he looks at you, you go blank and, you know, wake up 20 minutes later and he's gone and you don't know what happened.
Yeah. Either you pass out or you just forget where you are and everything.
I suppose this could be said about Dogman too, with being like hypnotic sometimes.
That's true. There are people who kind of lose track of time during a Dogman encounter.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in slow motion, as described before, you could imagine that would be kind of hypnotizing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how their powers line up. I mean, they've each got the one OP power, the portal for Dogman and the doom for Mothman, and then they've got the paralyzing abilities and the hypnotizing ability. Which, you know, the only advantage here that doesn't seem to be matched is the shape-changing ability, and we're not sure of the extent of that one. So let's picture a fight here. Let's say Mothman is perched on a bridge, as he likes to do, and Dogman comes walking down the side of the river, as he likes to do. They spot each other, and it's on. What happens next?
One of them has to think that another is a threat of some kind, so either two things may happen. One, they both back away, or two, the likely option that we'd want is they both just attack each other immediately.
Right. I would think that Mothman would have to initiate the attack, because if he's perched high on a bridge and he can fly, Dogman would be as powerless as a yapping dog.
Yeah, when you have the high ground.
Yeah, he'd just be looking up at him, barking incessantly or howling incessantly until Mothman either left or attacked. Mothman swoops down towards Dogman, claws extended, hypnotic eyes ablazing, wings fully beating with all their strength and power, dust flying up everywhere. Dogman is braced. He lets out his paralyzing howl. He's hunkered down, ready to leap, claws and teeth forward.
Now, is there a possibility that Dogman's fur can almost block the claws? Because he's been known for blocking bullets with whatever protection he may have as armor.
I think that is possible. Both animals could actually have a very thick hide that might allow them to, survive that initial attack.
Especially Mothman's wings. If I'm thinking about it right, I feel like it'd be hard to injure his wings.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not even sure about the leathery description, but I have to assume that that it may have to connect to a very strong kind of fiber, I guess, used.
Mm-hmm. So let's assume that the hypnotic attacks, the paralyzing attacks, somehow cancel each other out, and these two come together. And we got claws digging into hides on both of them. I think we agreed earlier that one of the first things Dogman would probably try to do would be to clamp down on one of those wings to keep him from flying.
Right.
mm-hmm.
So you got Dogman chomping on a wing. What does Mothman do?
Honestly, there's not even any biting from Mothman. From what I've heard, it's just little tiny fangs.
Yeah.
But just, I guess, a bunch of clawing. But I think the extra teeth and jaw power that Dogman has would be the only advantage.
Maybe Mothman's screeching can cause pain in Dogman?
That's right, because as a canine, he would have ultra powerful hearing, which would probably make that screeching even worse.
True.
So that might force him to let go. And I guess my personal feeling is the minute Dogman lets go of that wing, this fight is over. Because Mothman can take off, and he can swoop down and, do breaking strikes on Dogman from above whenever he feels like it. Until Dogman either retreats, or Mothman is actually able to grab him and drop him somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except I can't see that happening if he could just teleport with Portal.
That's a good point.
Really, I don't see him easily dying at all because he could just teleport whenever he's severely injured.
So I guess what we're saying here is that this could not be a fight to the death.
Yeah.
Either one retreats or they both die.
And just realize, okay, well, we can't kill each other. We may as well move on. Interesting. I could see a scenario where either one wins. I mean, if Dogman keeps holding on to that wing, even after the screeching starts, and he can somehow get around to the back of the neck and sink his teeth into the neck, or the front of the neck, rather. The canines go for the front. He could win. He could very easily win. I think Mothman's ability to win would depend entirely upon his supernatural powers.
Yeah.
I think Dogman could win physically. I think Mothman could win supernaturally, but I think Dogman could also win supernaturally. So I'd say if this were a fight to the death and nobody could escape, I would give Dogman maybe a 75% chance of winning the fight. Mothman 25. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, it sounds fair.
Well, we'd love to hear how you think this fight would come out. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for subscribing, and thank you for telling your friends.